Which we elevate acting and entertainment and all this kind of stuff to more than the thing, the value of the thing itself, as opposed to like the people. To me, the value's in the thing itself that gets made and the storytelling. I do believe in storytelling and stuff like that. I don't necessarily think that actors should be treated as, you know, I think there's a lot of people who are more heroic than people who dress up and pretend to be other people.
Alright, hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. This is Rob here at Smirking Gun Reviews. Finally back to Edward Norton month. Going to be kind of an uneventful month. Probably only going to be able to get out maybe 3 or 4 of these total for this month. We'll come back to them though. But we're going to today review The People versus Larry Flynt. I'm going to play the trailer right now for people who don't know what this is. This is Edward Norton's second movie pretty much. So I'm going to put that on and we'll be right back to talk about The People versus Larry Flynt, a Milos Forman movie that's Woody Harrelson, Courtney Love, Edward Norton, Vincent Schiavelli, a whole bunch of other people. So anyway, be right back. Alright, so The People versus Larry Flynt came out in January 10th of 1997. 97 for me, like, this isn't one of those movies I saw when it first came out, because back then my life was in some pretty crazy turmoil and movies weren't like always on the top of my list, but I'd always try to find the time to see as many movies still as possible, even to my detriment. But this movie is about Larry Flynt, the guy who made Hustler magazine and went through a ton of stuff in his life, including almost getting assassinated, being in the courts constantly for First Amendment violations, going all the way up to the Supreme Court. It's a very, very interesting story and a movie that's got some great performances, but the movie of itself is just kind of... I have a problem with a lot of biopics. So, I mean, well, might as well say full spoilers if you haven't seen this movie. I do like this movie. I just feel like in biopics, everything's a beat. Like, and everything is just like, this is that moment when they were like this. Then this is the, like, there's like, they just jump from one thing to the next. And this is one of those movies. And what I'm talking about is there's this part where he's pretty much hooked on, like, all sorts of medication. Hooked. Bad. And then he just goes to, oh, I'm addicted, I'm in terrible shape, to, I feel better, I don't need drugs. No, they don't show, you know, like anything else. It's just moment, this is a moment here, this is a moment there. I feel like there's a movie for almost every big moment in Larry's life. There's a 2-hour movie there because of how much he went through with the courts and in his own life. But they just jam it all into 2 hours and 9 minutes, and you're supposed to go, okay, satisfied? Feel like you understand? And it's like, yeah, but I can get that from Wikipedia now, you know what I mean? But, and I'm not a really big biopic fan anyway. I'd rather just read a history book. But again, that's just for me. And these movies are for people, you know, that don't want to read the book, but are, you know, fascinated. Because it is a fascinating story, whether you like Larry Flynt or not. I happen to think that the whole, you know, it's just Hustler and stuff like that's just not my cup of tea. But does he have every right to do it? Yeah, within reason. I thought it was interesting in this movie when they kept talking about how the kids can get their hands on these magazines at grocery stores and stuff. What a time to live, right? That you could you could be like 10 and see a Playboy, or 11 or 12 or 13 and just pick it up. But I thought that would have been played a little part in this movie of like how to get that out of the kids' hands is some kind of thing, but whatever. It was just something that was bothering me. But as far as the performances in this movie, everybody is top notch. Even Courtney Love. Woody Harrelson gives one of the best performances of career. Top 5 easy. Top 5 easy. He brings this character to life, and he comes from kind of a dangerous background, you know. Woody Harrelson's dad, killed somebody. He's got a lot of difficulties. He's had a troubled life, it seems, and this kind of character usually is right up his alley. It's such a far cry from like what we saw in Cheers, you know, and then you saw him in Natural Born Killers, and then this, you know, he's a very complicated actor, and it's such a surprising career for a guy who started out where he did. You know what I mean? Edward Norton, of course. I mean, this is his month. We're talking about him. He's in a supporting role in this mostly, and it is like his second movie, so what are you going to do? But he does a really good job here as their lawyer. And Courtney Love, this might be some of the best slash worst casting, because nobody, I mean, if you're thinking who's going to play a junkie convincingly, who's going to play somebody that's just so fucking bananas, her, like, to portray a character like Althea, a real person who, and it's the way they depict her in this movie, she might as well be Courtney Love. A lot of the same things that have happened to Courtney happened to Althea, and you know, the drug addiction and things like that. I mean, it's a lot of this movie doesn't feel like she was acting all that much. All she was having to do was tap into what she already has lived. And while it's perfect casting, it's almost like too on the nose, where it's just like, okay, why didn't, you know, they could have just, the only other way they would have done a better job is if they'd went out into the street and got a crack addict or something. I don't know. But she's really good in this, and whether you like her or not, I can't, like, I don't care for most of her music. I don't really care for her as a person, I don't think. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, I come from the 90s. And she's the Yoko Ono of the 90s. And so it's just kind of hard to be like, yeah, Courtney Love. Like, even, it's a complicated story, that whole thing, when you talk about Kurt Cobain and bringing all that. But we're not here to talk about her past and all that. What I'm all basically saying is, man, she's so perfectly cast, it's almost not fair. And she's fearless in this. But again, it's like, it feels like she's not acting. It feels like they just like said, hey, Courtney, and like they just walk into a room and Courtney's doing something Courtney would do. You know what I mean? Oh, she just happens to look like Althea. But there's also a great supporting cast. Two of them are Crispin Glover, who's just Mr. Quirk. You know, before Johnny Depp, there was Crispin Glover. And guys like Vincent Schiavelli, rest in peace, who's been in over 157 movies, never been the lead in a single one, but every time you see him, you remember his face. And so we're going to cover everybody before we like get all up into this movie. So first, we're going to talk a little bit about, we're going to show one of Woody Harrelson's, or actually, this is Courtney Love's introduction into the movie. I guess the only thing I'd have to say to that is the only unbelievable part of her performance is believing at one point in this movie that she was underage. That's the only thing, because I'm sorry, man, but even in that scene, look, I realize that I'm no prince among men, but Courtney Love looks like 20 miles of bad road is all I'm saying. And you don't look like that when you're 17, okay? Or whatever age she's supposed to be back then. Next up, we got Woody Harrelson as the main character, Larry Flynt. Let's check out his scene. Now, like I said in other videos of mine, that the 90s were heavy with courtroom movies, TV shows. They were fucking everywhere. The difference between this one is it was rated R and it had to do with Larry Flynt and pornography. So this one was just hitting you in the face with like the First Amendment and full frontal nudity and things that make a lot of people uncomfortable. Also, this movie, the way it's shot, it's kind of an ugly movie in a way, or more like a stark reality looking movie, because like when you see the nakedness of a lot of the people in this images, but especially like live people, usually they put like, they make them look all super extra hot looking, you know, with makeup and airbrushing and all this other stuff. But in this, the naked form is it's not dialed up. It's not dressed up. There's kind of an, I don't want to say ugliness to it, but you know, when you see stuff in the movies where people are having sex and things are just, you see a naked lady going like this, you usually go ooh. But this is like no touch-ups, no highlights, no like, what's the way that glamour shots or something like that. There's nothing glamorous about the nudity in here. Like you could see Courtney Love and go, oh yeah, she's got a pretty nice body, but damn, is she's pale and kind of skinny, and it kind of goes throughout like that throughout the entire movie. But to get back on track, the main person in this cast is Edward Norton, and he has a pretty good scene, a lot of good scenes. But here's the one near the end of the movie. It's actually kind of funny that the way this movie ends kind of on this like funny, like at least scenes with humor at the Supreme Court near the end of the movie. It's kind of surprising that it goes there. But really quickly before we get on to everybody else, I just want to, like I said, I like to mention the little guys, the people that don't get talked about. So here's a couple of things. One for Crispin Glover. I had to wear my I'm Your Density shirt for this one. I tried to find a different clip, but this one's just too good. And then Vincent Schiavelli, it's very hard to find clips with just him in it, so it's kind of a montage of characters he's played that you probably would go, oh, that's who he's talking about. Okay, here we go.
Lou, give me a milk. Chocolate. Sherry Coke. Lorraine, my density has brought me to you.
What?
Oh. What I meant to say was...
Wait a minute. Don't I know you from somewhere?
Yes. I'm George. George McFly. I'm your density. I mean, your destiny.
So starting the movie proper off, we see that Larry was a kind of an entrepreneur right from the beginning, where he's making moonshine. Usually you'd think that would go to the father, but no, his father actually is the one stealing the moonshine from Larry, which he pays a price for with a fucking like ceramic pot to the face, which was pretty fucking hardcore. And there's just like, again, there's these jumps. So like he's like, okay, he's a bootlegger as a kid. Boom. Jump to, he runs a strip club. Boom. Jump to, he puts out some articles with naked ladies for a newsletter to promote the strip club. Boom. Jump to people asking him, hey, why don't you, how do I get a subscription for this? It's like just boom, boom, like thing. Like, and it's not like any of those things are bad. It's just, it made me think of like, and I hate saying it like this, but like how Justice League was just a scene and then a scene and a scene. Now at least this has like a cohesive story where it's just like gradual progression. but like we don't take any time in here. We don't see the real difficulties. We don't see how hard it was to make each thing. And each thing could have a story, an arc, just like getting, going from being a bootlegger to owning a strip club, to like how the work goes into that and how the work goes into making the newsletter. It's just like we don't have enough time to jam all that in, so we just try to tell too much story, in my opinion. I also was trying to find the guy who did the music for this, and I feel like it's somebody very famous, but the music almost like takes me out of it sometimes because it's so good that the situation just seems a little less, like, I don't know if that's what they were going for, is like circus-like bigger, like let's make this as epic as Larry thinks it is in his head and how the world, views it. But I'm going to go, original music by Thomas Newman, guy who's done like a lot of really, really important stuff as far as big movies go. I felt like it was just like almost too much. I almost felt like this movie shouldn't even have like a score except for maybe a soundtrack with like, you'd expect this movie to be filled with like songs of the time, like the 70s, like 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, but no, there's just this like really powerful score going on. And sometimes it's subtle, sometimes it's really loud, but it just, to me, just never somehow quite fit with the material, even though it's fantastic. The music's fantastic. So he gets like the idea for the newsletter, and that takes off. And then he gets the, somebody asks him for a subscription, so they go to make a magazine. But then nobody wants the magazine. You have to have articles like Playboys. Otherwise, it's just smut. Like all the different rules and the ways you get around all this stuff, and comparing it to Playboy, and you don't want to be Playboy. And so they get out there. They put the articles in, and then, but that's not big enough. And so the first huge issue they get is when a guy calls him saying that he has naked pictures of Jackie O. And while most of us would be like, maybe we should respect her privacy, Larry says, this is my opening, prints it, makes a whole bunch of money, a whole bunch of people go, oh, okay. But the powers that be, certain powers that be, like James Cromwell's character, who I should have put in, gave him a little something, because James Cromwell, I mean, from Babe to LA Confidential to Star Trek, whatever number he was in. James Cromwell, it's Charles Keating, the real person. Charles Keating, he's claiming, that Larry Flynt's a scumbag, right? When he is behind one of the worst bank scandals of the 80s. Him and, wasn't that with George Bush too? George Bush Jr. or whoever was involved in the savings and loan stuff in the late 80s. Yeah. Maybe Charles Keating doesn't like to look at naked women, but he sure does to take away, your money, steal it. At least if you bought Hustler, it was your choice. And that's kind of the whole crux of this thing, is the First Amendment and how much of a right we have to choose to read something, look at something, watch something, and not have somebody tell us what to do. It's kind of the founding, tenets of our country. And without being heavy-handed, I mean, because it really could be. But it's really not. It's just more like we're watching this guy who just won't give up. And his personality is so big and in your face and fuck you to the man, especially people that are trying to tell him what to do and how to feel and how to have sex and who he can, you know what I mean? It's like, for him, this is like telling him he can't breathe. And along the way, you have Edward Norton getting hired as, Alan Isaacman, their long-suffering attorney who doesn't like what Larry does, doesn't condone it, but also he's in civil liberties, and so he respects the right to be able to do that. And I mean, did we really need a 2-hour movie? Like, that's the reason I was like thinking, why don't we develop more of like the struggles that he actually went through on like a smaller scale, rather than just going court case to court case to court case, where he's down, he's up, he's down, he's up. And that's the way it is through the whole movie, and it's the strength of the actors that carry this movie that has just a bunch of things happening. And so if they fail, this movie fails. Now, it wasn't, I don't know how much of a box office hit this was, but with the material, I don't imagine it did that great. But come, Oscar time, this movie probably did. It got a lot of buzz. I mean, it's got the thing that's like the best picture of the year, but I can't see who wrote it. But, those blurs don't always mean everything. But then we get that subplot, right, where the guy is following him around. And we do have one more thing we're going to play, but that's later. But this guy starts following him around, or following the case around, and then when he goes to jail the first time, it goes away. But then he gets out, and this guy's popping up again, like... And then finally, in one of his court cases, he's coming out, and this guy's got a sniper rifle, and he shoots Edward Norton first in, like, right here, like in this, like right here. And then he gets shot, like, here and here. Like, he just gets blasted by the sniper who never gets caught. Never gets caught. He just walks away. Like I said, man, I've said in other things, if you were going to commit a crime, you should have, like, being born in, like, the 70s and 80s, like, if you were old enough to commit crimes, that was, like, the last good time to be a criminal, for real, like, until once everybody got these, and, or just had video cameras everywhere in, like, the 90s, like, forget about committing crimes and just being able to walk away and disappear. Because that's what happens in this movie, and that's what happened for a really long time. Now, in the future, after this movie came out, the man who did shoot him was arrested and caught, and he turned out to be, like, well, we'll get to that, and we'll talk about that at the very end. But throughout all this, he's got this relationship with Althea, who's this, like, if you want to call it free spirit, some people might say, oh, she's just ahead of her time, but her lifestyle was very dangerous, and part of it is to blame with Larry, because she, after he got shot, she got hooked on the same kind of pain meds and who knows what else. The scene where she shoots him up with drugs was probably like, that was creepy looking, because think about how many times in real life she's done that to herself or to Kurt Cobain or to whoever. So just like watching her shoot people up and herself was just a little like, oh, like I really don't want to see what, be able to imagine what that looks like in real life. And just how she goes downhill without him. I mean, he's always in jail, and eventually she ends up getting AIDS from the way, and they really don't hammer that home too. Like, you just kind of know she's got a dangerous lifestyle. She's probably sharing needles. She's having unprotected sex. She's having sex with multiple partners. You know what I mean? She's doing a lot of high-risk behavior. Same as him, except he quit the drugs and she didn't. And I kind of feel like if he really loved her, wouldn't he have done more than that? But I don't know. I mean, it's, again, who am I to say, really? But it just, from the outside looking in at a relationship like that, it's like, why? Well, you got clean. Why didn't you? You've got all the money in the world. You couldn't get her into a rehab program, a real one, like with all that. But and her death scene in this movie is one of the most starkly, like, realistic and hard, like, just kind of harsh light of day death scene, where it's just a nude person drowned in a big tub. Like, in a big tub. So she's, like, floating, like, it's basically a pool. And she goes in there when she's, like, late stage AIDS and nobody wants to shake her hand and everything. And she just goes in there and she fucking drowns. And even though it's like, okay, she was only in there for a minute. So it just kind of like this, I was like, why didn't he try to bring her back? But I mean, if that's how she really died, then that's how she died. But, I mean, again, Courtney Love just having no problem with, like, we need you to do this. Fine. You want to grab my naked, wet body all over the place as it's dead? Fine. I don't know a lot of actresses that would have gone as far as Courtney Love did in this movie. And so, in that respect, I have to respect the performance, even if it is kind of from a person who's, well, been there and done that. But exposing it to the world, right? Knowing that you're putting yourself out there, knowing that people know certain things about you is kind of like, I don't know. I don't know. But after he gets shot and he gets finally out the pain meds, which I love his door. I wish I had that door where it's got a gate and like a bank safe door if only, if I had enough money for that, I'm not saying I want to lock myself up away from the world, but I like having the option. That door was pretty fucking sweet. It also helped him out when the cops come to knock on the door a couple of times as well. But throughout all of this, Edward Norton's character still stays with them even after he gets fired. You know, he's prone to firing people that don't really listen to him. You know, his own brother, who's played by his brother in this movie, which is kind of cool. I don't know why I never put two and two together there, but maybe I did a long time ago, but I was just glug, 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 glug. So, you know, I probably just don't remember. But, you know, everybody, you know, eventually Larry would always come around, and he might have to teach you a lesson or two, like when he comes back and makes everybody shake her hand that wouldn't before. But in the end, he, you know, wins the Supreme Court case. It gets changed. He's not even there for the verdict. He went back home when she, you know, this is basically when she's died, after she's died, and he's watching old home movies of her, and it's kind of like he's done it and everything. And that's just kind of the movie. The movie just kind of ends and gives us a little, like, where are they now? Except this was made in 97, so they'll update it, right? So, like I said, the person who shot him was eventually captured, and he was involved in, like, he was a white supremacist, KKK guy, involved in probably, I think they said 20 murders. And he just snapped when he saw some of Larry's pictures of a white woman with a black guy, and apparently that's enough to get you, you know, paralyzed from the waist down by people. And he was executed recently, but I did find this, and I just thought I would play it because it's just kind of crazy.
Do you know how many people you murdered?
Yeah, but I'd rather not mention it.
By my count, it's 22 people. Is that the same number that you have?
That's approximately it. I wished I could go back and change things, but there's no way I can do it, so I'll try to do, you know, make the best of it. If I had some way to make amends to them, I would try to do that. You know, being locked up in here on death row with an execution date a week away, I can't really do a whole lot for them.
Do you think about those two boys in Cincinnati?
No, I don't really think about them. I mean, I can't go back and think about the cases, you know, individually. I have too much other problems, too much other things I have to focus on and worry about, you know.
Well, those are two young boys, just 13 and 14 years old.
Yeah, it was just, you know, I regret the fact that I shot them now.
Why did you shoot them?
Well, I was just waiting. I was sitting on that railroad track waiting for the first either interracial couple or black to walk by.
And what was your mission?
Well, to try to get a race war started, mixed race couples and blacks. I figured if once I started doing it and showed them how, other white supremacists would do the same thing, follow suit. You know.
So you hope people would copy you? I
would hope, yeah, I hope that other white nationalists would do the same thing.
Do you think you're a hero to those hate groups?
Well, that's what they tell me, you know. I just felt like I was at war, you know, and it was the survival of the white race was at stake, stuff like that, you know.
Do you feel that way now?
No, not at all. No, I can see now I was wrong. It's wrong. Violence is wrong at any time, you know.
Do you feel that way because you got caught?
No, not at all, no. As a matter of fact, it took me many, many years to change. I actually thought, as misguided as I was doing the will of God. You know, I thought I was actually doing right. This is what God wanted me to do.
But the police were pursuing you. How could you think that?
Yeah, I know it, but I thought the whole system was all evil, though. You know, the whole system was corrupt.
Do you believe you deserve what's going to happen to you on November 20th?
Yeah, I believe I deserve everything that'll happen to me on November 20th. Yeah.
Are you scared?
No. I got my trust in God.
All right, so yeah, that was the guy who shot Larry Flynt and his lawyer. They didn't talk about it there, but I still wanted to play that because that's what hate looks like. That's what hate gets you. And he killed like 22 people for racism and to fight the white race and all this stuff. It didn't even have anything to do with sex, man. He just didn't like seeing the races mixed. And it's just what hate makes people do. Whether you're going after a guy who makes Hustler, or a guy who's dating a white woman that's black, or whatever. In the end, it's just all such just... Look at where it gets you. Got him executed 5 years ago. So, I don't know. Take that for what you will. I'm not trying to be political. It's just... human decency is human decency. But at least he got what he deserved. Now, I guess it was said that Larry didn't want the guy executed. I read the article that he actually just thought that making him stay alive and suffer with everything that he's been through with like being on death row and everything, he said was suffering enough. That being alive and knowing that how bad you were and everything is worse than death. I mean, I don't know if somebody, I don't know if I could be as forgiving as him. I'd like to think so, I don't know. But we all are capable of a lot of stuff, you know. But anyway, that's pretty much it. You know, I do also want to mention the really great scene with like Norm Macdonald, where they go over the John DeLorean case about the cocaine and how the FBI basically put him in and entrapped him and stuff. I don't know. I really like that scene, even though like why was it Norm Macdonald? I don't know. And why was James Carville in this movie too? Because James Carville's, you know, pretty whatever, you know, like. I don't know. It's just there's some really interesting things that are little details in this movie. Like I can't forget. I almost forgot that the judge in the first case was the actual Larry Flynt. I could probably find the picture, but I don't need to. But yeah, I mean, the very first one that like sends him to jail for 25 years. Yeah, that was Larry Flynt. So the case is as big as the man itself, and. I guess you could say that if it hadn't happened to Larry Flynt, maybe some of our laws would be different right now. I don't know. Because whether you like Hustler magazine or you think it's disgusting, we at least have the right to look at it or not look at it or burn it or put it on a pedestal or whatever. We have those rights. We have those choices. So, thankfully, that's the one thing you can walk away from at least, with some good performances. Next up, we are watching Rounders, a movie I have not seen in a long time, even though I can pretty much see it in my head, but I have not actually sat down and watched Rounders in a long time. This is back in the old early Matt Damon days, around Good Will Hunting. So we got movies with Matt Damon and Edward Norton, and Famke Janssen, I think, is in that, and John Malkovich, and John Turturro is in that. Wow, I'm starting to remember everything that's popping up. And then the one that I really, really like from Boardwalk Empire, who is the crazy blonde. It's going to bother me. She's in that too. So that's coming up for Edward Norton month. It is going to be out before the end of July, probably in the next few days, because I want to at least get like 4 or 5 of these Edward Norton reviews before the end of the month. So anyway, if you happen to like my review of People vs. Larry Flynt, please hit the like button. If you're not already a subscriber, please join the fun. We're on our way to 1,000 subscribers. So. Otherwise, this is Robert Smirking and Reviews. You can find me at Twitter at YESSHH8. That is Yesh8. So, have a great day, and we will see you on the next video. Bye.
Do you know how many people you murdered?
Yeah, but I'd rather not mention it.
By my count, it's 22 people. Is that the same number that you have?
That's approximately it. I wished I could go back and change things, but there's no way I can do it. So I'll try to make the best of it. If I had some way to make amends to them, I would try to do that. Being locked up in here on death row with an execution date a week away, I can't really do a whole lot for them.
Do you think about those 2 boys in Cincinnati?
No, I don't really think about them. I mean, I can't go back and think about the cases, individually. I have too much other problems, too much other things I have to focus on and worry about,
Well, those are 2 young boys, just 13 and 14 years old.
Yeah, it was just, I regret the fact that I shot them now.
Why did you shoot them?
Well, I was just waiting. I was sitting on that railroad track waiting for the first either interracial couple or black to walk by.
And what was your mission?
Well, to try to get a race war started, mixed race couples and blacks. I figured if once I started doing it and showed them how, other white supremacists would do the same thing, follow suit.
So you hope people would copy you?
I hope that other white nationalists would do the same thing.
Do you think you're a hero to those hate groups?
Well, that's what they tell me, I just felt like I was at war, and it was the survival of the white race was at stake, stuff like that,
Do you feel that way now?
No, not at all. No, I can see now I was wrong. It's wrong. Violence is wrong at any time,
Do you feel that way because you got caught?
No, not at all, no. As a matter of fact, it took me many, many years to change. I actually thought, as misguided as I was doing the will of God. I thought I was actually doing right. This is what God wanted me to do.
But the police were pursuing you. How could you think that?
Yeah, I know it, but I thought the whole system was all evil, though. The whole system was corrupt.
Do you believe you deserve what's going to happen to you on November 20th?
Yeah, I believe I deserve everything that'll happen to me on November 20th. Yeah.
Are you scared?
No. I got my trust in God.
All right, so yeah, that was the guy who shot Larry Flynt and his lawyer. They didn't talk about it there, but I still wanted to play that because that's what hate looks like. That's what hate gets you. And he killed like 22 people for racism and to fight the white race and all this stuff. It didn't even have anything to do with sex, man. He just didn't like seeing the races mixed. And it's just what hate makes people do. Whether you're going after a guy who makes Hustler or a guy who's dating a white woman that's black or whatever. In the end, it's just all such just... Look at where it gets you. Got him executed 5 years ago. So, I don't know. Take that for what you will. I'm not trying to be political. It's just... human decency is human decency. But at least he got what he deserved. Now, I guess it was said that Larry didn't want the guy executed. I read the article that he actually just thought that making him stay alive and suffer with everything that he's been through with like being on death row and everything, he said was suffering enough. That being alive and knowing how bad you were and everything is worse than death. I mean, I don't know if somebody, I don't know if I could be as forgiving as him. I'd like to think so, I don't know. But we all are capable of a lot of stuff, But anyway, that's pretty much it, I do also want to mention the really great scene with like Norm Macdonald where they go over the John DeLorean case about the cocaine and how the FBI basically put him in and entrapped him and stuff. I don't know. I really like that scene, even though like why was it Norm Macdonald? I don't know. And why was James Carville in this movie too? Because James Carville's pretty whatever, like I don't know. It's just there's some really interesting things that are little details in this movie. Like I can't forget. I almost forgot that the judge in the first case was the actual Larry Flynt. I could probably find the picture, but I don't need to. But yeah, the very first one that like sends him to jail for 25 years. Yeah, that was Larry Flynt. So the case is as big as the man itself, and if I guess you could say that if it hadn't happened to Larry Flynt, maybe some of our laws would be different right now. I don't know. Because whether you like Hustler magazine or you think it's disgusting, we at least have the right to look at it or not look at it or burn it or put it on a pedestal or whatever. We have those rights. We have those choices. So thankfully, that's the one thing you can walk away from at least, with some good performances. Next up, we are watching Rounders, a movie I have not seen in a long time, even though I can pretty much see it in my head, but I have not actually sat down and watched Rounders in a long time. This is back in the old early Matt Damon days, around Good Will Hunting. So we got movies with Matt Damon and Edward Norton, and Famke Janssen, I think, is in that, and John Malkovich, and John Turturro is in that. Wow, I'm starting to remember everything that's popping up. And then, the one that I really, really like from Boardwalk Empire, who is the crazy blonde. It's going to bother me. She's in that too. So that's coming up for Edward Norton month. It is going to be out before the end of July, probably in the next few days, because I want to at least get like 4 or 5 of these Edward Norton reviews before the end of the month. So anyway, if you happen to like my review of People vs. Larry Flynt, please hit the like button. If you're not already a subscriber, please join the fun. We're on our way to 1,000 subscribers. So otherwise, this is Rob at Smirking and Reviews. You can find me at Twitter at YESSHH8. That is Yesh8. So have a great day, and we will see you on the next video. Bye.